Welcome all to the Project Equal second student conference entitled Learning from Learners, Equalizing Diverse Higher Education Landscapes. We're very happy that you could be here. I was just explaining to Professor Menon kind of the composition of the group of students who are here. Students representing the at least, 5 of the 6 partner institutions of this project, from Ambedkar University, Delhi, Hyderabad University, Jadavpur University, Shivnara University, and the University of Bologna. My role here at the moment is simply to, of course, introduce the speakers of this inaugural session, but you'll be hearing from me at the end of the session and then throughout the conference. Technically I'm the faculty coordinator of Project Equal in Ambedkar University, Delhi. I'm a member of the faculty there and Dean of the School of Liberal Studies. What I would like to say at this point is, again, thank you very much for attending. The students here went through what I think was quite a rigorous process of submitting proposals and having them vetted by the institutional partners of Equal. We're very interested to hear what you have to say. I'll talk later in the session and later in the conference about some of the major objectives of this project Equal, but without feedback and significant interaction between students and faculty and education administrators and even education technologists, this sort of project would not go very far. So we're very proud to be sponsoring the second student conference. As you know, there are academic conferences and several other kinds of activities which are part of this project, but I personally feel that the student conferences are really more important than just about anything else, because it provides opportunities for educators and educational administrators to get a sense of what students are interested in, the kinds of challenges they face. And since this project is partly about, I'd use this rather ugly term advisedly, but technologization of higher education, that would be putting a kind of negative gloss on it, but the application of new education technologies and new communication technologies to higher education. It's really, although it's a very important segment or aspect of higher education today, it's not very adequately mapped. There are some national higher education environments where a certain amount of research and study has gone into looking at the use of technologies in learning. But in many national education environments, there's only the vaguest sense of really what the student experience has been. So you know that already, that one major objective of this student conference is for us to get a better sense of that and to take stock of it. So I'll be quiet now. It's my pleasure to introduce our 3 speakers for the inaugural session. Professor Shyam Menon, who's the Vice Chancellor of Ambedkar University, Delhi, an educationist as well as an administrator. Jim Scarth, the director from, again, exactly what is your division?
English for Education.
Yes, English for Education Studies, yes, from the British Council. And Suraj Nicole, project manager from the European Union, the European Commission of the European Union. So welcome all and to our speakers here for the inaugural session. And I'll be talking to you or at you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. If it doesn't affect your program too much, can we have a round of self-introduction? Is that all right? So we can at least know where you're all from and what you're doing and stuff. I'm Shyam Menon. I teach, I've been teaching for the past about 30 years or so. More than that, 32 years or so. And 33 years, yes, that's right. And it's just to scare you, that's it. And for the past about 8 years, I'm part of this team setting up a new university. We have lots of things to learn. So one of the advantages of being in a young university is that we really have not become smug enough not to be able to learn anything anymore. So we are still a learning organization, learning institution. So it's in that context that Equal is a very important, a meaningful kind of a partnership to be part of. That's how we are here. I'm basically a student of physics, having moved to psychology and education and so on, and been in the faculty of education of Delhi University for many years. So that's me. Maybe we should have, if you don't mind.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mashood Alam. I'm a student of MA. I'm doing my development studies from Ambedkar University, my master's.
Okay.
Good morning, I'm Asmita Kabra. I was trained as an economist and then I ran away to the School of Human Ecology at Ambedkar University, which is where I teach now.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sonam Melwal. I did my master's in development studies from Ambedkar University, and then I was working in Madhya Pradesh for my research projects, and then came back to AUD for a research project where I was working on vulnerabilities, sociological vulnerabilities, and then I went back to MP, and now I'm working with Adhar Shila School. It's a school, and I've been working there for past 1 year. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Lippy, and I am a second-year undergraduate student at Ambedkar University, Delhi, studying English.
Hi, I'm Archit. I'm doing my postgraduate course. I'm Archit. I'm doing my postgraduate course from Delhi University in MA in English literature, and I'm here for the conference.
I'm Suresh Babu. I'm also from the School of Human Ecology. I'm part of the Equal project in the sense that we are all busy in developing this new course as part of this program, and I'm part of the course team. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Rohit Negi, and I'm also at Human Ecology at Ambedkar, and part of the team developing this course in Human Ecology.
Suresh is a psychologist, and Rohit is a geographer.
Hi, I'm Oishi. I'm a second-year undergraduate. I'm a second-year undergraduate at Ambedkar University, Delhi, majoring in English.
Good morning. My name is Mihir. I'm a third-year student of history in the BA program at AUD. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Shruti. I'm a third-year student at Ambedkar University doing the Social Sciences program.
Hello, my name is Shomak Mukherjee. I am the project assistant for Project Equal at Jadavpur University and a PhD student at Department of English at the same institution.
Hi, I'm Bidisha, and I'm a student of education at Tata Institute of Social Sciences. In Hyderabad, actually, yeah.
Good morning. I'm a second-year student from the University of Bologna, Italy. I am studying anthropology, religions, and Oriental studies. Andrea Pizzinato, the name.
Hi, I'm Barbara. I come from Italy too, and I study anthropology and religion and Oriental culture in the University of Bologna, and I'm third course.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Parul from the British Council, and I'm working on the Equal project.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Varsha. I work with the project management team, Equal, at the British Council.
Good morning, I'm Sneha. I am doing my graduation in sociology from Ambedkar University.
I am Akash Thakur and I'm also doing my graduation in sociology from Ambedkar University.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mohit, and I'm pursuing my graduation from Ambedkar University in economics.
Hi, I'm Rachna. I'm an independent scholar, and presently I'm pursuing a PhD in human ecology at Ambedkar.
Hello, I'm Ruhil. I finished my graduation in English from DU last year. Presently, I'm taking a gap year and I'm traveling around the country and volunteering with different organizations.
Good morning, everyone. I am Maulika. I am third year undergrad student from University of Hyderabad. My honors is in political science.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Suprija. I'm from the University of Hyderabad as well. This is my third year in a 5-year integrated master's course in health psychology. My interests, apart from health psychology, my interests also involve adequate stimulation in the East Asian studies and literature.
Good morning, I'm Shaina Sehgal. I'm a PhD candidate at the School of Human Ecology, Ambedkar University, Delhi.
Hello, I'm Rajoshi Roy. I'm from Jadavpur University, and at present I'm pursuing my bachelor's degree in English literature.
I'm Sohini Basu. I'm in UG2 History Department, same university, Jadavpur.
I'm Srijan Uzir from Jadavpur University, MA in English.
Well, as I began saying, I think universities are at best a changing and adapting organization if they still keep learning. Otherwise, it's quite possible that they become ossified, as has happened to many universities in the past, because the whole business of higher education has changed its character over the years. In a place like India, about higher education, of which I know a little better than in other places, we began as part of this colonial project of creating a cream of Indians who could mediate between the colonial rulers and the ruled in India. So the universities were basically the instruments for that. And universities were culturally linked with the tradition of the European universities. So, and at the time of India's independence, the higher education was very minuscule, and it really catered to only a small, thinly spread layer, creamy layer, if you like, sour cream, I think. Who had something to do, who had a benefit of access to higher education. But as would happen in any society aspiring to be democratic and participating and as aspirations about equality and social justice, higher education became one major instrument which had to demonstrate its access to people who are aspirants with a wider social base. And that's precisely what happened in India in the 60s onwards. Resultantly, there was always a dichotomy between quality and quantity, which was never quite bridged. So you have, on the one hand, the governmental policy of supporting these centers of excellence, IITs and so on, and also highly subsidized, and in which was major investments were made to ensure that India continues to be in the frontiers of what may be called the knowledge race. But there were also these other places, and other extreme was in the 1964 Delhi University started the Correspondence Courses, which was basically for those who did not get the chance to get into higher education and to cater to them and also to get them onto the process of what may be called higher education, but yet with very questionable standards in terms of quality. So this quality quantity divide in some sense had to be bridged, and one serious experiment that happened in India was the open university system, which got established in Andhra Pradesh to begin with, and then later at the national level and also in various parts of the country, which actually brought in for the first time technology mediation, in order that there is a greater possibility of meaningful participation in higher education of people who are drawn from the margins, ostensibly the margins. But if you actually analyze the profile of students in various courses in a place like Indira Gandhi National Open University, for instance, which is a national open university, you'll find that it is still, there is a certain imbalance and unevenness in terms of, the question is not so much as it used to be the case when I was a student in higher education in the early 70s, as to who gets to go to higher education. The question was, the divide was mainly who gets to go to higher education, who doesn't get to go to higher education. That was the divide. Today it seems to be increasingly like who gets to go to what kind of higher education. So there is a, just like there is a diversity of seekers, diversity of social backgrounds from which people tend to seek higher education, there are also diversities in terms of institutional structures which actually cater to these. And there are serious contradictions in public finance and so on in terms of the kind of money which the government is ready to put in, and it's, there is a serious mismatch between the pronounced ideals of democratizing higher education and so on. So that those are the issues, the debates which I do not want to go into at this moment. From the 90s onwards, it's another trend that started in India was actually privatization. So it appeared as though the government was increasingly, state was increasingly beginning to abdicate its responsibilities for higher education and leaving the field to private players to come in and do their bit. So today, for instance, what started out as about something like 20% of the total enrollment is to be accounted for by private institutions fee-charging private institutions in the early 90s. Today, it's about more than 60%. So it's about 3 times it has increased. That segment has increased. So, we are at an interesting, in interesting times. So public universities particularly, have, they struggle to sort of make their existence possible and without jeopardizing the acceptable levels of quality. So that's a struggle which Jadavpur is involved in. University of Hyderabad is involved to a lesser extent because there are again caste systems in higher education, public higher education institutions in India. There are central universities, there are state universities. Jadavpur and us belong to state universities. The 4 partners of Equal, for instance, come out from basically 3 categories. One is a private university, Shivnadar. The other is a public university with a lot of state patronage, that is the University of Hyderabad, and the children of lesser gods, that is the state universities, which are Jadavpur and us. So it's more or less like that. But it's interesting that all these 4 universities, in spite of the fact that whatever kind of backgrounds they come from, whatever struggles they make, are still trying to make higher education relevant. And this participation equal in that sense has been extremely critical to, I'm sure, to all of us, all the partners here in India. And there are things to learn from Bologna and King's College. And we're really thankful to the British Council as well as the European Union for making this platform possible. And I'm sure that, I hope that this lateral learning that actually is happening would continue to happen even after the project period, which is what's about sustainability and ownership. I think that's what I'm sure we'll be happy to. So at least from our side, we'll be happy to continue many of these activities. And and I'm happy about this whole idea of learning from learners, because universities' pedagogic and curricular systems have got ossified in some sense in models of epistemology, which is actually rooted in the 19th century. So it has really not evolved and have reached been able to make inroads into the life spaces of the learners today. Today's learners are in their life spaces are much more complicated, much more interesting, and where university only assumes a small segment of their total time. If you make a pie chart of the university students' time, you'll find that their devotion to the so-called primary activity of study, full-time study at a university is only a small segment. There used to be a time in the 70s when some of people like me were part of the university system as a student. I think everything was catered to our social needs, our intellectual needs, our emotional needs. Everything got catered to through university. Today, university is a competitor among various different agencies like social media, other kinds of discotheques or whatever, to compete with all this, to ensure that the universities are still relevant in the life spaces of the learners. So if that's indeed the case, then I think the whole pedagogic approach and curricular approach will have to be versatile enough to be able to reach the students where they are, learners where they are. And I don't think we are really quite equipped for that, because we are got stuck in an epistemology which doesn't seem to be, in my opinion, is struggling to continue to be relevant even today. So equal, in my opinion, is that has really driven the nail the right spot in terms of focusing on pedagogic and curricular issues. And the whole category called technology, in my opinion, is an ephemeral one. A printing used to be a technology once upon a time. A technology intervention in higher education, use of a fountain pen was actually another technology. So the technologies will come and go, but the issue that we need to really address is actually the manner in which learners and learning environments interact with each other. Now, universities and faculty cannot claim anymore to be the sole sources of information, leave alone knowledge and wisdom, to a learner. So at best what the university can do is to provide a learning environment, and hopefully, and this is a learning environment in which I think both the learners as well as the providers participate. It's almost like, if I may use a metaphor, it's like the weaver birds, where the male bird actually make half the nest and wait for, and he sort of sits aside, and the females will come and inspect the various half-made nests. And she would decide actually which nest is good enough. So when she is satisfied with the nest, then she decides to court this particular male, and then together they complete the nest. That's the way the weaver birds make their nest. So in a similar manner, I think all universities are at best half nests. The other half is actually being made through a collaborative co-learning process between the teachers and the learners, the university and the learners. So it has to be a co-learning approach. And in that sense, I'm sure today's and tomorrow's deliberations are, in a way, focusing in the right manner on and the key phrase of learning from learners, in my opinion, is extremely apt. And the autobiographical account, as I'm told you will all be presenting, based on your experience, because at the end of the day, the shoe is only as good as how it feels for the one person who wears it, and the one who is wearing the shoe is you, none of us. So frankly speaking, it's you who have to basically say how well it's working, and where we need to look at possibilities of further systemic thinking and mid-course corrections. I already exceeded the time limit which Dennis had assigned to me. I've been missing teaching past few years. Sorry about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Menon. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jim Scarth, who, again, is the Director, English for Education Systems. I should point out that we are all indebted to the British Council in several respects, one of which is the overall management of the project and coordinating the different activities. That's certainly a major way in which the British Council is assisting these efforts. So Mr. Scarth can tell us a little bit about British Council's activities.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to come along to the inauguration of this conference. I'm Jim Scarth, to do the introductions. I started teaching sociology and philosophy in 1974. And then I moved direction into applied linguistics. And then somewhere along the way, joined the British Council. I'm here a little bit under false pretenses because actually it's my colleagues at the back of the room there who are doing all the work on this project with the British Council. But we're delighted to, really delighted to be a part of this project. We can always rely on young students to inspire us with energy and enthusiasm. And India, of course, is one of the youngest nations in the world. I see here that the median age in 2015 was only 25 years. And in India's long and immensely rich history, no generation of young people have had it as good as this generation of young people. There may be problems that you face, but no generation has had it as good as this generation of young Indian students. And furthermore, you are sought globally, not just in India, but globally, because in the coming years, 1 in 4 workers in the world, 1 in 4 workers in the world will be Indian by 2022. So there's an amazing amount of opportunity for young students in India today that has never been before in all its history. Knowledge is, of course, the driving force in the rapidly globalizing economy that we find ourselves in these days. And India is emerging as a knowledge-based, service-driven economy. And its human capital will be its major strength and opportunity for the growth. And you all are the powerhouse driving that change. So no pressure there. However, you're also lucky, this generation, not just in India, but around the world, because really you're the first generation to be able to really make the most benefit of computerization and the internet. Professor mentioned the technologization of the world. One of the benefits is of that digitization is the internet and the use of computers. Through the World Wide Web, you're able to access the world's best teachers, make friends around the world, and learn from other people around the world. There's an enormous treasure of information at your fingertips on the internet. You're spoilt so much for choice, and there's so much information there, all the world's history of information, that actually deciding what information is available to you, what skills you wish to develop, is going to be your major challenge. So your success is going to be driven pretty much by how you pursue the knowledge, and you will not be limited by boundaries such as geography or politics or economics in the same way that past generations were. In spite of India's massively impressive growth rate, industry is still grappling with critical skill shortages on the one hand, and there's a struggle to improve the employability rate on the other. And again, it will be in your hands, the young people of India and around the world, to address these problems. In the same way, researchers and academics in India are concerned about the shortage of high-quality undergraduates entering the research profession. In fact, this is not just a problem for India. In the UK, in the States, in all countries that value higher education, we're facing similar challenges. And there is a global demand. UK universities try their hardest to recruit the brightest and the best to come to our universities. And other universities in the States, Canada, Australia, India, Singapore, China are looking to do the same. So universities are increasingly looking at students, the best students they can get from wherever they can. And the same with their faculty. Today, the world is facing a number of genuinely serious global international challenges. Climate change, sustainable development, energy sources. And the solutions to these problems are not going to be found by a single individual working on their own, beavering away in a laboratory and suddenly having a eureka moment on their own. Indeed, they're not even likely to be found by a single institution working on its own. Just recently, the philanthropist, entrepreneur Bill Gates, has set up a grouping of like-minded philanthropists to work on innovation in the energy sector, which energy and energy sources for Bill Gates are seen as the single biggest challenge facing the world at the moment. So it will only be found, the solutions to these problems, these global international problems, will only be found when the brightest and the best from around the world collaborate to seek the common and just solutions and set aside their parochial or immediate ambitions and goals and look for the greater good of the human race and solving these international problems. So that's why today countries around the world are looking to increasingly to collaborate on research projects such as the Hadron Collider and space missions and so on, to the Human Genome Project and many others. We very much hope that you all here will be inspired by your interaction with your peers in this room and around the world to join hands with them in researching, developing your knowledge, and making that better world. The Indian government has made undergraduate education a priority in the government's 12th five-year plan. And Equal is a great initiative where the project activities seek to address this priority area of undergraduate education. Equal provides that interactive platform for young students to enhance what we call 21st century skills like problem solving, team working, communication, critical thinking. I mean, we call them 21st century skills. Of course, these have been skills and issues that have been with us for many millennia. But these are exactly the skills that we need to solve the great challenges facing the world that I mentioned earlier. I'd like to thank a number of people for their collaborations on this project. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the European Union, who support this initiative, which has its central theme to improve the quality, access, and relevance of undergraduate education with students around the world. I'd also like to thank Professors Menon and his team for their collaboration and for organizing this conference, and of course, Professor Leighton, who is spearheading the project from AUD along with his team. So my thanks to you all, and I'm thanking you in advance for all of the collaborations that you will have working together on this project. Thank you very much.
I'd next like to introduce Suraj Nicole, the representative today from the European Commission of the European Union. Again, without the European Union, there's very little we would be able to do in this project in terms of organizing and funding the activities. We're very happy that the European Union and the European Commission of the European Union has had the foresight to identify India as a place where new things are happening and shall be happening in higher education, and that these activities are worth studying and helping create in some ways. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. When I come to such conferences, I feel I go back 20 years when I was a student and studying in one of the colleges, one of the Delhi University, institutions. So I feel one among you. My previous speakers have really talked about a lot of potential which Indian students have, and also the scope which young students, especially Indian students, have. So I'm not going to touch upon that because you yourself know what all opportunities you have and what all you can do in coming days in the world to really take the world out of crisis. So I'm not going to touch upon that, but I'm here on behalf of European Union, and I thank British Council and this project for inviting European Union to this conference. European Union and India has lot of collaboration since last 25 years, and we are working in India on education, not only on higher education, but also the secondary education and primary education, like Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan and secondary education initiatives. So, European Union has been working with Indian government and Indian universities and other educational institutions for a very long time. And since 2011, European Union has focused on two major aspects as far as higher education is concerned. That is to modernize the education system and also to internalization of higher education. Internalization does not only mean the interaction between Europe and India, but also technological revolution. And this project is one of such an example of this kind of an initiative. The EU's priority has not been only focused on increasing number of graduates or number of post-graduations, but it also wants to make sure that, number of college students who drop from the colleges, who don't complete their education, that point is taken care of. So such programs, such initiatives are really focused so that students complete their education, complete their degrees, and then, get their degrees, and they are really valued in the job market. Our EU's focus has been more not only on students, also on the teaching faculty, because with the evolution of time and all, it's also the teachers who should really evolve with the time. They should know what the students demand and what the industry demands. Also, the higher education needs new technologies. So, and there has to be a communication strategy, how to communicate the new technologies to the students. So, in September 2013, India and EU has signed a memorandum where the communication technologies and the internalization, they will be transferred from EU's experience to Indian experience. So we have a lot of MOUs signed with Government of India on this, this particular topic. The new strategy of internalization and technology improvement of the European Union also is in favor of India and Indian universities, because in EU has 4-5 really major areas where European Union is collaborating with India. The very first program and very important program is Erasmus Plus or Erasmus Mundus, which most of the students know. It is a scholarship program. Earlier it was called Erasmus Mundus. Now it is Erasmus Plus, and Erasmus Plus only earlier, Erasmus Mundus used to focus only on student scholarships. But Erasmus Plus since 2014, it's a new program which really incorporates not only facilities and scholarships for students, but also faculty, also the research people, and also the administrative staff of the universities or higher education institution. The total budget of this Erasmus Plus is 14.7 billion euros, and India has a lot of advantage under this program as far as faculty exchange and infrastructure development is concerned. It is also a learning mobility of individuals. That means the students from India go to Europe, and European students come to India, and it's not only the full-time courses are only given assistance or scholarship. It's only also theme-based. Maybe a semester-based or a theme-based study is also covered under this program. Then there is also a policy reform. We also give support to Indian policy makers for reform in their education policies. And this has really been really welcomed by Indian government, and EU is really supporting in this field. We also, EU and India is really collaborating a lot also on research and innovation fields. We have a lot of research programs where the Indian researchers go to Europe and are funded, and then they do their research. Also, we do a lot of research, like as my previous speakers also said, that there is sustainable development, energy, and in these fields also there are a lot of programs where research funding is available. We also have a program called Jean Monnet Chair, where under the Jean Monnet Chair, it's a call for proposal, and universities or the faculty members apply for this chair, and then they are given substantial funding to really collaborate with European universities and bring the value addition to Indian teaching system. So right now the Jean Monnet Chair is with Manipal University. In the last years, till 2014, it was with the Jawaharlal Nehru University. Also, we have a very big program where we conduct education fairs in India. The education fairs is not really just that European universities come to India and so far. No, it is just to tell Indian students there is a lot of potential in Europe. I know British Council or and Swedish universities promote their education system, but other than these two countries, there is a lot of potential in Europe. And I must tell you this thing, that the European education now is more English-based education, and also the cost factor is, compared to Indian university, is really very comparable. It's really comparable. It's not that one has to pay too much of amount to go to Europe. And with Europe, you have, we don't have so much cultural difference when you study in Europe. The distance between India and Europe is really 8 hours travel, which is really, if you go to Kerala, you have 4.5 hours travel, so it's not that much. So we bring European universities just to tell Indian students there is a lot of potential in Europe, and there are, in Europe you have really world's some of best universities where one can study. Plus, also European Union is also doing a lot of work with Indian government on skills development, because as you know, by 2020, Indian government has said that they have to really skill the youth, and 80% of the youth should be skill trained. So to have infrastructure and trainings of the trainers program, we have a program with the Ministry of Labor on the skills development issue. So these are some of the initiatives which European Union is doing, and Equal Project is one of the initiatives where which is really part of the internalization of European Union, where we are collaborating, 6 universities, as you know, are collaborating and developing a curriculum and technology development. I hope all the best to this conference, and I wish this project is a role model and we do such more initiatives in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarojni, and thank you to the other speakers. Fortunately for you, I like to keep to the time, to the schedule as much as possible, and the schedule does not leave me very much time to talk, so I'm happy just to speak for a few minutes. And this is actually just mainly taking a gloss on the brochure here about the conference. Again, the title of this conference, or the name we've given to it, Learning from Learners, we could say that, well, of course, teachers need to learn from their students, at least as much as students are supposed to learn from their teachers. We believed in planning this particular activity for Project Equal, that it was important to get, and I used the term earlier in my previous comments, try to establish a kind of map of different, quite disparate and diverse learning environments in Indian higher education today. Professor Menon earlier mentioned a few figures about, say, the growth of what might be called the private sector in higher education in India, and how remarkable that has been in just a very short period of time. Also, the roles which continue to be played by universities which had a fairly traditional foundation and were expected to fulfill quite traditional roles. 1858, when the so-called presidency universities were established in India, and at least 3 principal political centers of India, and their functions of training young Indians to play roles in what was essentially a colonial system, to develop cadres of professionals and administrators, as well as people with technical skills as well. We find ourselves in a very rapidly changing learning environment, and very rapidly changing environment for the administration of learning and research activities in India, as Suraj Nicole has mentioned. So a primary objective of this conference is to take stock of and try to map student learning experiences, to reveal how students inhabit or relate to diverse learning environments, and how they handle challenges relating not only to education, but to issues of employment, livelihoods, their lifestyles and social choices, demands of citizenship. I think it was quite apt that Professor Menon pointed out how certainly students of his generation and even of my generation in another country were perhaps not necessarily more dedicated students than you are, but focused on education in a manner that's quite different from what we, at least as teachers, observe among our students today. You're challenged with various interests and concerns in ways that was, in a way that was probably not true of people studying anywhere in the world as recently as 30 years ago. So we're interested not only to, as teachers and administrators, not only to learn how you learn and what challenges you face as learners, but also how your formal learning activities relate to what could be called simply informal learning experiences. The role that technologies or new communication technologies play in those interactions, and broadly speaking, how your concerns about your own education relate to other concerns that you have about your roles as citizens, as earners, as contributors to different kinds of activities. And our attention here will be given not only to learning technologies and pedagogies, but primarily to learning experiences. So although I was not directly, very directly involved in the vetting of the proposals that you all had submitted, I think there's some really fascinating titles that you've chosen for your presentations. We tried to group these in a particular way based on what was provided to us, given our own kind of preconceptions or again, kind of lead questions that we thought that you should address. But we've tried to adapt, kind of change or modify the categories which kind of provide some design or structure to this activity. So critical pedagogies, diversity and marginalities, student voices, well, that seems clear enough, digital divides, technologies and materialities. We'll see how, whether these particular categories are very apt descriptions of what it is that you have to tell us, but we're very interested to hear what you have to tell us about your own learning experiences, and it's certainly one of the broader objectives of this project to incorporate this kind of student feedback into the learning design process in order to enable co-learning experiences. So thank you, welcome, and I hope you have an enjoyable time here in the next 2 days, and I look forward to interacting with you. Thanks.